Hi, this is Mike from Bokeh Film Studios here to talk about the new Sigma E-mount 135mm lens. So I got home from a wedding this weekend and saw that this was on my doorstep. I've been waiting for this lens for a really long time. By the way, you should always have a Leatherman in your bag just in case you need pliers, knife, nail file, whatever. It's something I use all the time. So for those of you who don't know, Sigma has made an entire line of Sony E-mount lenses that attach right to the camera. You don't have to use adapters anymore. And this is super exciting to us Sony shooters because Sigma makes a super high quality lens at actually a pretty reasonable price. Really what this does is it just kind of opens up the range of lenses that you can get from Sony for your Sony cameras. This is exciting. Oh yeah. Man, I've been waiting for this for a really long time. Oh, let's grab gears. So before I actually open it up, the thing that really attracted me to this lens is the fact that it's got a 1.8 aperture. That's super tight. You can get really close looking images, great bokeh in the background. It's something that's really going to step up my 3-camera setup that I use for wedding ceremonies. It's also going to really come in handy when we're doing letter reading and for receptions. It's just a way to get super tight with that nice buttery bokeh in the background. Sigma always puts them in these little like ice cooler packs. I don't know why. It's kind of funny. Wow, look at that. I actually hate the smell of these. I don't know why I just did that. Look at this. Oh man. Oh, look at that baby. Now that is an incredible looking lens. If you look on Sony's website, if you're looking for a 135 lens, you're going to be spending over $2,000 for what it is that they say is their 135. This Sigma lens, while it is still expensive, it is a little bit cheaper than the ones that Sony has on their website. And Sigma has a great reputation for lenses. I know a great number of people that use the Sigma 135s with the adapters, pretty much the ones that they make for Panasonic or for Canon. But the fact that they are now making them for Sony E-mount means that you're also able to continue to use autofocus. If that's something that you do, I definitely use autofocus at times, but for the most part at this focal length, I'm really trying to set that look and leave it alone at that point. Oh man, look at that. I can look through this like binoculars. It's so wide, that 1.8 aperture. So if you don't know what aperture means, the lower the aperture, like a 1.4, 1.8, it just really means that you're able to get super tight and everything else in the background kind of looks kind of blurry. It's that really cool effect that Apple now has in portrait mode. Although in their case it's a digital effect, it's not actually the way that something looks through the lens. This will make it look authentic. 1.8 aperture is a really big deal. Let's quickly talk about when I would use this lens. So I have a 3-camera setup that I use at all ceremonies. I usually have 1 camera set up on the left side of the aisle, 1 on the right side of the aisle, and then I am personally down the middle with a camera. What I usually do is I have 1 setup with the 70-200, and if it's on the left side, it's shooting the person that's on the right side, which is usually the groom. And then I've got 1 on the left side shooting the bride, and typically I'm going to end up using something like a 55. That's pretty much the best lens that I have currently in order to shoot from that angle. What this lens does is it actually does 2 things. 1, I can have the 70-200 on one side, the 135 on the other side, and that actually frees up both my wide angle lens as well as my 55 for my shots right down the center. So of course we have a wedding this weekend. What weekend don't we have a wedding? But I'm really excited to use this. I'll make sure that I include footage in the next video, but I have to say that I highly recommend getting a lens at this length, whether it's the 70-200 or something like this that's a fixed prime 135. You're just not going to beat the build quality of Sigma for the price range. It's just a super high quality lens. It's actually quite heavy, which sometimes is a downside, but for a tripod style shot, I guess I don't really care how heavy it is. I'll also say that I use the 70-200 f4, which for that focal length is actually perfectly fine. It's not a big deal. But when we step into places like the reception, I really do like having that ability to ratchet it down a little bit in aperture down to maybe 2.2 for two things. One, I get a better focus on the subject that I'm shooting, but the second is it lets in more light, and receptions tend to have a hard time with lighting. So really excited to use this lens. I'm going to have a link in the description if you'd like to purchase this lens, but so far I think that this is going to be a tremendous lens. Huge upgrade to my kit specifically, and I hope you enjoy it as well. I'll make sure that in the weeks to come I shoot a bunch on this and show you some of the footage of the Sigma 135. Well, that's it for me today. Thanks for watching this video. Hope that you check out the Sigma 135. I left a link in the description if you'd like to purchase it as well. I hope that you have fun with it. As always, happy filmmaking.